Let's start with the muscles along the brow. So what we want to be thinking about at this point is the frontalis muscle, and we want to be sketching out its rough parameters and how this is going to just lay over the surface of the forehead. Nothing too pretty, nothing too complicated. It's a fairly simple muscle. What we already know is that this is responsible for the wrinkling of the brow, because the muscle action is straight up contraction. So that's going to cause the brow, the skin of the brow, to pull upwards and then wrinkle everything that's in between. It's very thin, as I said, not that noticeable and not that significant. So we're going to place the frontalis. We're also going to place the corrugator muscles, which are flowing along the glabella underneath. These are responsible for bringing your brow inwards and kind of frowning and giving that furrowed brow quality. So the corrugators along the side here, moving inwards. We're also going to put the temporalis, which is along the outside, moving down and connecting to the coronoid process, so moving all the way through. You can really see that when you chew. Just chewing and then holding your hand up here, you'll actually see all or feel all the flexing happening. So that is moving through and underneath the zygomatic bone, connecting right to the coronoid process. To create the frontalis, I'm just going to mask it off. Use mask pin. I'm going to come down to the brow and then split it off at a certain point. Set your thickness. 0.2 is going to be too much, so set it to 0.1 at the most. See what happens. Okay, there we go. Check the polygon count. That's 250,000, so that's quite a bit. Do you need that many? Probably not. So make sure you're also checking your resolution and your polygon count of the extraction. It just saves you trouble in the long term. You see how fast that was now? Much faster than it was before. So anyways, that's the last time I'll walk through it step by step like that. But now I'm just going to go through and start to create a couple more. Temporalis. And I'm not going to pull it through. I'm going to let Move Elastic do that for me. Come down, turn off that mask that's hidden, and pull that down. Okay, roughly placed, going along the temporal bone, coming down and inserting into the coronoid process. Let's get our last muscle here. Clear the mask. Corrugators. We're just going to go under that glabella, the superciliary arch, or along the glabella, and move inwards. Okay, and extract that. Check our markers. Got some definite building up to do. Call that the frontalis Okay, for the frontalis bone, or muscle, sorry, we're going to pull this forward a bit. And I'm going to use a very simple trick for that. Turning solo mode on. I'm going to show the front poly group. Control click to mask it. Control shift click to show everything. Control click to invert it. Solo mode is off. Moving this forward. Just get some thickness in there. Okay, you have to be careful of the thickness down along the bottom, because that's going to be largely the orbit of the eye that takes up a lot of that muscle mass. But I can use move brush to just pull that back. Okay, I'm just going to start to use a modified version of /2 to just give me some qualities in here. Start to separate the head a little bit, smooth some of that out. What I did to modify the slash brush was come into the alpha, /2 that is, just spread these alpha adjust points a little bit. You can increase those to get a little bit more contrast, and you'll see immediately, what the difference is. But that is a nice kind of quality to the line, and we're moving everything down towards that coronoid process. Check the back side. It's definitely getting affected, but it's not horrible. And just keep an eye out on how these are pulling through. Okay, inflate. Just inflate these groupings right on top of each other. Really augments the lines I've created. And then you can come in with, let's just try a polish brush. I haven't tried one of those with this approach. Smooth it out a little bit as well. That's going to have some danger to it, but trim dynamic is another option. That'll cause you to lose some of the separation between them. Okay, the corrugator. Let's make sure we've got our positions, our origins and insertions correct. So I'm going to hide everything. The origin of this, we're going to want to be along the glabella. So if our glabella is here, this column, the origin is going to be along that towards the change in plane. Let's just say midway. And then the insertion, what it's inserting into, is into the frontalis and the skin of the brow up here. In between, basically, the end of the superciliary arch and the overhang of the brow. So somewhere in between here is where you're getting your insertion. Let's just adjust our position. Make sure symmetry is on. I'm going to turn transparency off so I can make sure to actually see it. And to get this muscle, I'm going to use the inflate brush. You can divide it once, but we don't need to spend too much time on it. /2 on the ends. Really small draw size. And just a back and forth motion does a lot with these guys. Okay, so we've got the three portions of the brow area, the upper area that I wanted to make sure were captured. We're going to move in now to some more less known but still really important muscles, really focused right there in the brow. Let's also place the procerus and the depressor supercilii. These are two more muscles of the brow. The procerus we're going to place, its origin is going to be along the nasal bone and some of that lateral nasal cartilage. It then is inserting up into the fibers of the frontalis itself, into the fibers of the forehead muscle. Little fan shape to it that's important to keep in mind. And then we need to get the depressor supercilii. And this is a muscle with some contention, but we're just going to call it as it is, depressor supercilii. It is originating along the ridge of the orbit of the eye, I should say along the margin of the orbit. And then it is inserting up here a little bit lower, but still into the frontalis and the fibers of the forehead. This is also a fan shape, and it is on top of the procerus on both sides. So easy to do this with mesh extraction, very simply, just like the corrugator muscles. And this is going to overlap the corrugator as well. In fact, everything's overlapping the corrugator at this point. Okay, let's increase our thickness. Let's set this to 0.25. Extract. Solo mode is off. Got a little bit of a problem there at the bottom. But if you remember correctly from our marker, the area right there at the tip of that nose, that's going to be quite thin, so we don't have to worry about that too much. But let's make sure that the procerus is sitting on top. Oops, symmetry should be on. Move brush, press Alt, make sure you clear the mask. There we go. A little hit, check the markers. Okay, not looking too bad. If you go to /2 brush and you turn lazy mouse on, lazy step low, lazy radius low, you can get some really nice stroke effects. I'm just getting rid of some of the added volume I had there. But back into /2 now, lower the draw size, and that's a really nice, clean, striated quality that we're getting now. Take that all the way down. Remember, direction can give you some extra power here. Okay. Depressor supercilii, a little bit lower, right along that margin. Don't get them too close to each other. And leave some room in there. Okay. Thickness, I'm going to set this to 0.3. Whoa. That definitely shows our limit. So 0.3 was way too excessive. You set it to 0.2 though, especially for this depressor supercilii. Okay, and then once it's at 0.2, just extract. Much better. Select the extraction, clear the mask. Make sure symmetry's on. Smooth it out. And establish the overlaps. Divide it twice, maybe 3 times. Come in with the slash brush that we have here. That has lazy stroke on, all of that. Check our markers. You start to see a little bit about how this builds up now that we're adding volume to each muscle. What might have seemed a little bit, excessive before, 5 millimeters, is now starting to make a little bit more sense. Okay, the next muscles for us to go into are some of the cheek muscles. I want to get the muscles around the cheek, as in the zygomatic major, minor, some of the levitator labii, all of these guys, as well as starting to get the mouth muscle, the buccinator back in there, the masseter, all of that. We're going to save the eye for last, as that's a really powerful part of the expression, and go from there.